I'm Andrew Patterson from interest.co.nz. Welcome to another in our Business Success series. Today I'm with Bryce Howard, Chief Executive at Tasti Foods. Hi there, Bryce.
Hi there, Andrew.
Bryce, tell us a little about Tasti, because you've been in this business quite a long time, more than 80 years, and it's a business that probably goes back to some of those early origins where some of the products you're producing didn't exist in those days. Just give us a little potted history about how Tasti came about.
Tasti started in 1932, the time of Great Depression, and a gentleman called Vic Watson started the business off, and there's a fascinating story around how that worked. And he grew the business. He saw the opportunity to take products and to preserve them, and that's really where our glacé cherries came from way back in those days. And he grew that business and continued until about the 1950s, and then he sold that on to the Crisp family. Since the 1950s, the Crisp family then sold it on to John Hall. John Hall continued to run the business until the mid-90s and sold it on to Simon Hall. And Simon has been the owner of Tasti since 1996.
So how much has the product mix changed in that time? Do you still produce the glazed cherries?
Yeah, yes we do, and we call that our heritage part of our business, and in fact part of the factory that makes those products we call Middle Earth, going back to that sort of heritage. But we still make the cherries the same way as we did in the 1930s. We combine that obviously with a lot of our fruits and nuts, glacé orange peel and lemon peel and those sort of things, Christmas cake mix, fruit mints, which is important. However, since the 2000s, that part of the business hasn't grown, and really our focus has been around nutritional snacks. And that's really where we've got into baked muesli bars and other bar products that we've now launched successfully throughout New Zealand and Australia.
So some of that reflects the change. People don't bake as much, obviously, these days, so they're into quick sort of snack convenience product, and that's obviously where you've moved into.
Yeah, particularly the lunchbox, and Kiwi kids have grown up with mum initially putting the home-cooked bickies and slices and bits and pieces into their lunchbox for school, but now the convenience of grabbing one of our great tasting muesli bars out of our box and shoving it in their lunchbox is really where it's growing. And now those kids have become adults, and those adults have become older adults, and as a result, the range of products that we produce, really covers all that area of the market.
We kind of think of muesli bars as having been around forever, but they're a fairly recent product, haven't they? Just give us a bit of background as to how all that product was actually created. Yeah,
you may say it's recent, but again, looking back at Tasti's history, the Tasti snack log is the first muesli bar that was ever sort of created in New Zealand, and we still make that product the same way we made it when we invented it back in the 1970s. But more recently, with the advent of low fat, and also nut products has really grown that category. Nut bars is now a large range or large segment of that market, as is a lot of the specialist kid type products as well. We are trying to aim for high fibre or high milk content without trying to give them all the bad bits of the fat or the sugar products.
So that the healthy food message actually works very, very well for you.
It does, and it's really driven the category. But at the end of the day, everything needs to be eaten in moderation. So there's no point just living on chocolate. There's no point just living on muesli bars. But it's around giving parents and kids something that they do like to eat. They can take away with them. That does give them an energy hit or a boost, and is nice to eat.
No, but of course we're based at your head office in West Auckland in Te Atatu, where you've been based for a long time, and you're obviously a big local employer as well. What about some of the heritage around the staff who've been with you for some of that, or quite a fair bit of that journey, I suspect?
Yes, we've got staff who have been with us for over 40 years, and I think that's really a testament to how much people love working here at Tasti. We've got over 260 employees. We are in an area that's surrounded by houses. We have a lot of our staff who walk to work. That's a really unusual thing in New Zealand nowadays. But that's great. We're a big supporter of West Auckland, being a Westie, and we love giving back to the local community and really working with our community to provide good employment and looking after them.
So you're another one of these businesses that have really decided to make New Zealand the home. There was never a temptation to move some of the manufacturing offshore.
No, I've been there and done that, and I tell you what, New Zealand's a fantastic place to live, but also a great place to do business. And we thoroughly enjoy fighting our Aussie counterparts by manufacturing in New Zealand. We can do products better, faster, and we believe with better quality than what our guys or our competition in Australia can do.
And interesting, it might surprise people, half of your sales actually go to Australia.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it certainly wasn't 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was probably less than 5%. It's a part that's growing rapidly. We're a small fish in a big pond over there, and we love fighting the Australians at their own game. And at the end of the day, they love buying New Zealand products. They would far better buy New Zealand products than buying something out of Eastern Europe or out of Asia.
So how have you achieved that growth in the last decade, particularly so quickly?
It's mainly probably been through innovation and a real, Kiwi can-do attitude. So often the large corporates just have their way of doing things, are very slow and cumbersome, full of bureaucracy. The great thing is that, the directors and the owners sit around the table every day of the week. If we want to do something, we just go and do it. If we want to go and buy a new muesli bar plant and it makes sense, then we go and do it. We're not held by any other corporate constraints.
And interestingly, you base all your staff in New Zealand, so you service the Australian market from New Zealand. Why the decision to do that?
It just means we can have so much more control over what we do, when we do it, and to make sure that feedback from our customers comes straight into our facility. We've got guys over there today, and tomorrow we'll be getting reports, and he'll be back here tomorrow talking to us about what Woolworths or Coles feel about our products. We feed that straight into our NPD, new product development process, and we can adjust products, adjust timelines, do things to meet our customers' needs.
Obviously, a lot of the growth has happened only in the last decade for this business. Give us a sense of how much you have scaled up over that time.
Well, 10 years ago, we had about 70 staff running quite manual production systems. We've now got 265 staff running certainly the most automated and modern muesli bar plant in the whole of Australasia. We make about 10 million muesli bars every week out of our facility, and these plants run with minimal labour. They're completely automated from front end to the back end, but we still employ a lot of staff who look after those robots, and that's a great way of making sure you can beat your competition at their own game.
And that is key, because obviously that keeps costs down, and you are in the FMCG space. We all know that's a highly competitive category to be in.
Oh, absolutely it is. And, we love our customers, but at the end of the day, we've got 2 major customers in New Zealand, we've got 3 in Australia. So you need to do everything you can to keep them on side.
When you look at the snack bar category in the supermarket, it's very crowded. It's a crowded space. So how do you stand out against your competition?
Well, it's through innovative products, and I also think it's through a really good brand presence. And the work we've done over the last 18 months to relaunch the Tasti brand, to make it known that we've been around since 1932 and we're New Zealand owned and New Zealand operated. Really makes us, I think, stand out amongst the rest of the competition, who are typically all owned either by private equity or overseas interests.
So from a capital perspective, what sort of demands is that placed on your balance sheet? How have you managed to achieve that growth from on the balance sheet?
We've been very lucky. Our shareholders has a lot of confidence in the business, and as a result, been able to invest in the business. But as we've grown, we've been able to put a lot of that money back into the business, so we haven't got a shareholder who's taking out large dividends, and that's really let us grow, with the support of our bank, but let us grow in a good but conservative way.
What would be some of those challenges you'd remember, the points where you did lose a bit of sleep, or you might have got a bit concerned, or has it been a fairly smooth run?
No, it's been some pretty ballsy decisions made, and probably one of the ones I like talking about is the time that we were first going into muesli bars, and it was about a $10 million investment. But we had the confidence to make that decision. Simon and I went to Europe. We searched for the best gear we could find. The gear we found was far more expensive than what a lot of the other competition is using, but gave us a lot of extra capability. So we came back to New Zealand. We bought the gear. We put it in the plant. We still didn't have a single order for a single case. But we made some products, gave it to our sales and marketing guys, and 18 months later that plant was full. It was running 24 hours a day, 5 days a week. So we then went out and bought another plant, double the size.
And of course the growth continues to go as well too. I mean, you're seeing sales projections that are likely to see you continue to achieve some growth in the future as well.
Yeah, we certainly have some good targets ahead of us. The muesli bar or nutritional snacks market has really flattened off in Australia and New Zealand, but we're still a pretty small fish in a large pond in Australia. So, our growth and our focus is clearly to get more market share in Australia, and that's really where the business is focused on.
What about on the product innovation side? How do you deal with innovation? How do you look for trends? How do you spot more opportunities in the future for a business like Tasti?
Get trends and ideas from a lot of ways. Probably one of the best ways we find is by searching the world, either through electronic means or actually getting on planes and flying around and looking at supermarkets around the world. Getting those ideas, tailoring them to the Australia and New Zealand marketplace. We've got a highly talented bunch of food technologists here on site, and they take those products and make them work within our manufacturing capability and within the New Zealand marketplace.
Interesting, you produce halal muesli bars for the Middle East. Tell us a bit about that story.
Yeah, it's a bit different and not a huge part of our business, but again, we had a customer come out of Asia and wanted a point of difference with their muesli bars. So we worked with the Islamic Federation and got Halal certification, which is another quality certification to have within our systems. And for the last 5 years, we've been producing halal muesli bars for Asia. I think probably one of the only producers of those type of products up there.
And if we were to come back to Tasti in another decade, 270 odd employees now, how big will this business be in another decade based on your current growth projections?
Well, we want to double the size of our business. We'd prefer not to double our employees. We love the staff we've got. We just want to move them into far more productive areas and productive roles. We plan to be here for a long time. We've just launched the first phase of our new office facility, and we're now about to build amenities and labs and areas. Working out west, being out west is a great place to be.
And we just hope that people continue to buy lots more muesli bars in the future.
Absolutely, both here and Australia. So we do love our Australian colleagues across the ditch, and they love eating New Zealand tasty muesli bars.